Maddie from Hello Interloper here with the latest Blood Brothers news. I just want to apologize, first of all, because I know I'm a few days late with this event video. However, the first day that this came out, I unfortunately was feeling rather ill, and I just didn't have the time to make the video. And of course, because I was ill the first day, I didn't get a chance to friend all my event allies, and it turns out I have 8 event allies, 7 of which are absolutely doing nothing, so this is kind of a bummer event for me. However, I know some of you guys probably had a lot better luck than I did and are enjoying this raid boss event, so here is the video noting all of the different changes that the Labyrinth Games number 4 has brought to the table. So this is, as I said, the Labyrinth Games number 4. Not saying that it's the 4th raid boss event, but the 4th raid boss event that takes place in King Philip's Labyrinth, which is shown over here. Basically, he puts beasts in there and has people go and defeat them for his own entertainment, but as seen in a previous raid boss event, he apparently promises the release of the beasts if they actually defeat the hunters. So who knows what his intentions are. But either way, it's a fun raid boss event, and there are a lot of different changes that have been added. First of all, I'll go with what I believe to be the biggest change, and that's the fact that with all of these raid bosses, there has actually been a change. Now, see, the raid boss here is Behemoth, and I'll just quickly talk about him a little bit. But Behemoth has a skill called Razor Claws, which is a new skill, and it deals massive damage to 2 foes and occasionally has the chance to paralyze. It's a 50% paralysis chance, and it's a 200% attack modifier. So this will be quite an interesting collectible after the event. But saying that, there are of course 4 different evolutions. And what's pretty interesting is the fact that the last evolution is no longer the super raid boss. In fact, it just shows up randomly just like any of the other Behemoth evolutions. However, the legendary that's being given out in ranking rewards is actually the super raid boss that shows up, and that is Ramiel. And she seems to be the leader of the Behemoths, kind of the owner or master of all of them. So she gets pretty annoyed when you do end up killing all of her behemoths and shows up during the super raid boss times. Of course, you can get the full chart on how much HP and how many points you get per boss by looking at the Blood Brothers wiki. However, I'm just going to move on to the next part, so I'm not going to go into that much detail. But the super raid boss times are all Pacific Standard Times, so keep that in mind when looking at the list on your event details. So you would usually have to convert them into your own time zone, which can be done pretty easily. Just go on Google, type in time zone converter, and you can figure everything out yourself for, maybe about 2 minutes or something. So another big change that has been added is the reversion or revertedness. I don't know. I can't think right now. But basically, they have reverted back to the old system where there are 2 different elites, one of which is an uncommon that turns into a rare, and the other which is a rare that turns into an epic. But as you can see, the uncommon that turns into a rare, of course, is very much weaker than the rare that turns into an epic. So that's one thing to note. But then there's also another bonus elite that is being given out, and that is a daily mission reward, which is also a new introduction to the raid boss event. You have to complete 3 missions once every day in order to get 8 of them to get a full perfect evolution. Of course, you're probably not going to get it every single day, because as the days go by, you are less likely to see the first evolution, which you can kill by yourself. One of the requirements is they have to kill something completely by yourself, but let me go over it. You get Addis Charioteer, which I will show you guys in a moment once I go over all of the familiars. But you have to discover 1 raid boss, which can be done just by going through the map, attack 1 raid boss, which is pretty easy, and then defeat 1 raid boss, which is required that you do yourself. And you collect the reward from the wagon once you get all of it done. Collect 4 of them to evolve into their ultimate form, but of course it requires 8, which means that you have to do this every single day to get a perfect evolution. But of course you'll be able to trade it later on anyway. But actually, wait, oh no, they actually put a footnote here. Defeat the boss yourself actually means that you have to deal the killing blow, but usually you can't do that just by trying. You have to usually kill something yourself. So, anyway, let's go over all of the different familiars that are being given out in this event. One of them is Ramiel, or Ramiel, Angel of the Storm, which seems to be pretty interesting. Some kind of almost like a heavenly figure, although she seems to be pretty evil. She's commanding a bunch of behemoths that are attacking. But she has some pretty nice stats. As you can see, perfect evolution. She has high HP, high agility, and her lowest stat is defense. But wisdom is where she really shines with almost 16,000. And she does not look as heavenly in this picture. She looks a lot more demonic with those scary, almost snake eyes. And she has the skill Thunderclap, which is a new skill. And it's a 70% wisdom modifier, attacks 5 foes, has a chance of paralyzing by 30%. It deals wisdom-based damage to 5 random foes and sometimes paralyzes them. So it's pretty interesting, I guess. Not as good as, let's say, Flash of Rage, but seeing that she has so much wisdom, it will probably do a lot of damage. Then, of course, we have Behemoth, which I will quickly pull up here. So Behemoth is pretty interesting. It seems to be storm-based, and it has Razor Claws, which I've already gone over. But let's see if the perfect evolution stats are up. That's a problem. Okay, problem fixed. So perfect evolution stats are pretty interesting. He's got a pretty high attack, 14,000. Rather low wisdom and HP. Actually, they're quite similar, only off by about 61. And then agility is okay, but it's attack where it really shines. And the picture is pretty cool. Not as impressive as you would think for an event rare that evolves into an epic, but still pretty interesting. Now, then we have 3 different elites, which I'll quickly bring up here. There is Addis Charioteer, which is the reward for the daily mission. And the final evolution is Addis the Amazonite, warrior number 2. And it seems that he is a little bit more detailed and less contrasting than most other enemies. You can see the black is very accented here, and here it seems to be more about extremely fine detail, which is kind of strange. I'm sure they have a lot of different artists working on it, and they're supposed to work on a set type of style with, you know, the black contrasting a lot. But interesting to see a very detailed looking picture. And he's got pretty good attack and agility when you see him in perfect evolution, but rather low everything else. He doesn't seem to be spectacular, but of course he's useful for anybody who does not have a good amount of elites, or of course needs somebody on their team to replace something pretty bad. So he has Frontal Onslaught, which we've seen before in Jean Knight Templar. It's a 150% attack multiplier, sweeping attack that deals heavy damage to the front line. These abilities have actually been changed somewhat. Before they used to act the way they do now, and there was a period of time where if there was no specific front line, it would not attack. They fixed it now, so it does the frontmost line. So once again, Jean Knight Templar and what was his name? I think it's Tamatoro, or something. The one with Shadow Volley, he's useful again, which is pretty nice, because it's always sad when certain abilities are debuffed and are kind of useless like afterwards. So then we got the uncommon that turns into a rare, which is Babbo Elite Mercenary, which turns into Babbo the Cruel. He's got seemingly some kind of slashing blades on his hands, like fist weapons. But overall, he's pretty weak in terms of even perfect evolution stats. He doesn't have any stat that's above not even 6.5k, but his main stats seem to be HP and attack with pretty low wisdom. And he has Intense Assault, which we've seen time and time again, and is not as good as Massive Assault. It's a 300 attack multiplier rather than the 400 attack multiplier of Massive Assault. And it's a one foe sort of thing. So it's really good for a single target thing, like the raid boss, of course. But definitely not that great. Honestly, I have a Prince Asterios too in my raid boss comp, and he does a lot more damage than a fully leveled Babbo, which is kind of disappointing. But let's go back here, and there's one more that I need to go over, and that would be Dovin, the Bounty Huntress. And she seems to be kind of a little dwarf sort of person, because she's a lot shorter and she's got a big head. But her full evolution seems to be pretty interesting, because her stats are a lot nicer than the Charioteer or Amazonian Warrior, if you consider the fully evolved form. But she has high attack, low wisdom, and fairly low agility and HP. Actually, her lowest is her agi. But she has a skill called Mega Shot, which seems to be new. And it's a 400 times attack multiplier, which is single attack, which deals attack-based damage to one foe regardless of position. In other words, it's Massive Assault, but improved because the amount of damage is not affected by which line, if it's in the back or in the front. So it ignores position, which is awesome. She's not that strong, but hopefully we'll be able to see this ability come back on another, better, of course, familiar. So she's very useful in the raid boss event. Of course, it's hard to get most elites, seeing that, of course, the event coins, they never really have that great of a chance of getting any elites. Mostly buying is the only way to guarantee yourself a good elite team. But of course, if your team isn't that good to begin with, you can pretty much just fill up your team with a bunch of Babbo elite mercenaries and do the best that you can. And that seems to be about it. One thing to note is that you get a behemoth when you get 800,000 points. That would have been a big mistake. But it seems that behemoth is going to be flooding the market in large amounts, seeing that up to rank 40,000 gets one. And of course, if you take into account if all these 40,000 people get 800,000 points, that's another 40,000 in the market. Of course, the higher ranks get more. If you get in the top 5,500, you'll get 2, not counting the points-related one. But it seems that it's going to be pretty common. Of course, the same could have been said about ngmoco when it first came out, and now that price is pretty high. ngmoco is kind of steady around 9, 8, or 10 Gjallarhorns at most sometimes. So the amount that is in the market doesn't always affect the price. So hopefully all of you guys are having a good raid boss event. Until next time, and good luck.